Oh boy, this is going to be interesting. How's it going, folks? Jack here. So, Ubisoft dropped a trailer yesterday. Let me just quickly change the color here in the background. On the project that was code-named Red. So, just to make things match just a little bit. And it has now been revealed as being Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, I personally have zero expectation about this thing because, again, it's current Ubisoft and I don't really care about any of the practices. They're insanely anti-consumer, and while they are not one of the studios that have yet to be a complete dirtbags against the employees, the developers, and firing the subsidiary, I don't care much for their practices, so I'm not going to be getting this game for that reason. Now, there's obviously been some weird drama already going on because of clear thing, the complexion of one of the characters that you can play as in the game, but I think it's absolutely stupid. But I have yet to watch the trailer itself. I was actually saving it for today because I had to sleep. I like to get my sleep down. That being said, we're gonna watch what this is about, and I guess that already got a little bit of a spoil of who is going to feature in here. Okay. Shinobi.
All I have ever known in my life. Our land. Our customs. My family. Burns in the name of
Unification War. Oh boy. Yikes.
You are still a frog in a well who knows nothing of the sea.
Oh, okay, so that's him.
Filled with new ships.
I've seen the pictures.
They all come from the same river. Greed.
I'm sorry, Ubisoft, you did not add that in your game as a line. Come now.
But they all come from the same river. Greed.
Seriously? With the current events, no one thought that that line should not have been in there, and how they might be criticized for it. Well, okay. At least he doesn't have the Killmonger haircut, so that's nice.
Power. Vengeance.
Yeah, the 6-foot-tall dude among shorter men.
And you,
Short kings.
will you continue down that river? Or choose another path beyond what we see?
And we must look for it together.
Perhaps they finally worked on the social stealth. Which might be the one thing that I want to grant Ubisoft to always do, although they are insanely bad at designing the game to make it so that people actually take the time to notice these things. But they always design insanely immersive cities and environments that, in the perspective of like being in there, in the locales, the things are always very historically accurate. I absolutely love some of the videos of like actual historians like criticizing either the armor that people are wearing, the architecture and stuff like that. It's always nice, especially later on with the actual historically accurate thing that is in Assassin's Creed games being the story mode. The rest always takes creative freedom. obviously, because it's a video game.
We must learn to trust. Rebuild.
Yeah, you should have to do that with your audience. Oh. Do you actually have to climb up now? That could be nice. Well, he was said to be extremely strong.
I said, who do you serve?
For a retainer.
We are the shadows.
That served the light.
No! Okay, Ubisoft, you cannot ask people to pre-order games anymore. Don't do that, especially not when you don't show gameplay. Oh fuck, okay, look, obviously I'm coming in here with a little bit of baggage. I understand what they're trying to sell a product, obviously, but man, this is kind of tone deaf. But it looks nice, but don't get your hopes up before you actually get to see some gameplay. That being said, if I were to be a little bit brave here and dive into the comment sections, let's see what is being said. The most heroic thing about this is that they left the comments open. Remember, never pre-order. Definitely, don't do that. You can't be an assassin when people who never see you recognize you from 50 meters away. Bruv, oh god, you literally... Okay, I'm not even going to comment on that. Funny how the black samurai in the game happens to be the strongest samurai in feudal Japan, apparently. Yep, found the Ubisoft... Okay, here we go. These are the people who are complaining about... what? The race of the character. You know what? I'm gonna do that. I'm going to indulge this point and talk about the history of Yasuke real quick. Because when in 2021, when I learned that Flying Lotus, one of my favorite artists, was going to be working on that Netflix adaptation of loosely based on this story, a manga. Well, not completely a manga. There is, I think, 2 mangas about Yasuke. The Netflix adaptation is a work of its own. I decided to jump on board because I love his music, so obviously I wanted to see what he was going to be doing there. And also wanted to learn a little bit more about the story of Yasuke. I've heard about the guy before, never truly dove into it. Like, I knew that there were supposedly some statues, but those were rendered by some artists in 2015 or something like that. So like, not actual old things. But I knew of his status as a servant of Nobunaga and possibly also a samurai, because of the term retainer was not exclusively just for people who did not enter combat. Now, what I came to learn was twofold, because when you want to learn about these things, it's kind of difficult to find the right sources, especially when it comes to that kind of era of Japan. For me personally, of course, one of the things that I will directly go through because of my kind of studies in theology, go straight to a religious organization that will tell you about those things, because they were the ones who were proselytizing to the new countries in the Indies. That's what mostly Portugal, Spain, Italy was doing at the time, right? And so you had in the 16th century a dude whom I believe was called as Alessandro Valiano, who took to him as not a valet but more like a bodyguard, a young boy from supposedly Mozambique or South Sudan. It's debatable which country exactly it was that he came from. But he was a slave boy and took him under his wing. Didn't give him a name because that wasn't a thing that they did back then. They weren't people. So he served under him as Valiano was part of I want to say justice, but they sound a bit different. I'm thinking about this in French. Je Jesuits, god damn it, or the Society of Christ is the more accurate term to be using here. But they were serving under the Black Pope, who is not a black person, but like leader of this order, where they were wearing black in contrast to the white robes that the Pope usually wears. And their mission, of course, were to be missionary and emissaries of the government, and in order to spread and expand to new territories by reformation and all of those things that Christianity engaged in. That being said, then they arrive in Japan, which is something that I think you can find in what text is it? I don't remember if the text was in Spanish or French, but I will give you the citations in the edit. When they arrive there in 79, they immediately shock everybody, the both of them, because obviously they're foreigners, they're pretty damn tall, and Yasuke even more so. I think in a paper that I read from an actual Japanese study on why race studies, more specifically towards African Americans, for example, was abolished in Japan, because after all, a character like Yasuke is one that is only known by high schoolers or even college graduates. In there, he described Yasuke as being a black man that came from a Christian country with the age of around 26 or 27, and that he was as black as a cow, looking healthy and as strong as 10 healthy men. So like one of the descriptors that are there to indicate awe and fascination, and less more on something that is built upon some weird hierarchy of what is and what is not human. That is not to say that there weren't people who looked down on Yasuke. We might be talking about that in a little bit, especially when it came to the higher ups. The description that was implied here was so to mean that it wasn't a demeaning look that was given upon him, but more like a term of admiration towards the kokudo, because the black person or slave at the time. So Nobunaga sees the guy and takes him under his wing. First and foremost, the whole story of him being washed because he believed that his skin is like covered in ink, finds out that it's not the case, sets him in a fight against one of his strongest wrestlers. Yasuke defeats the wrestler. There is later on an account from the Shinshoki, which is like I guess a prototype text of the Chronicle of Nobunaga, his historical account, that mentions how it is that Nobunaga, at least that Yasuke, whom Nobunaga gave him the name Yasuke, was given land, at least his private estate is a bit more correct to say here. He has his own estate, was given a lump sum of money, and Nobunaga personally handed him a ceremonial katana, which was very much to the dismay of actual samurais within the ranks that served Nobunaga. They were infuriated by that because obviously he was a foreigner, and Nobunaga was a well-known individual to always break the rules. He hated the idea of his state religion. He didn't follow that. He was always enamored by anything that was foreign. So like, it's not hard to imagine that the man did these things. What can be discussed, however, is the status that Nobunaga assigned to Yasuke later on, which was as, first and foremost, a retainer, later on as a weapon bearer, and he got promoted at a certain point that once again pissed off his I guess fellow retainers and also other samurais that were hanging around Nobunaga. Now, that's the point where we can start having a little bit of discussions here, because the prime assignment that a weapon bearer has is to, quite literally, bear the weapons and stand in the back when it comes to fights. Now, given that we are talking about literal samurais here and Japan, I guess that I can make an anime reference. If you at least have watched the excellent Hellsing Ultimate, you may be interested in watching a follow-up, at least not necessarily a follow-up, but another work made by oh my god, I forget the author's name. People are gonna kill me in the comment section. Koto Hirano, please don't kill me. If you watch some of his other works, like Drifters, for example, which is actually the thing that I was trying to get at here, you will know of a character known as Aketsu Mitsuhide. He is the arch enemy of Oda Nobunaga and also the mastermind behind the Honiji incident, where Nobunaga ended up being murdered. It is from this samurai's account that we know of the supposed disdain there was towards Yasuke, where he was viewed as nothing but a beast and not even a man. And obviously, a person who hated every single thing that Nobunaga was doing is going to spew this kind of view. Now, if we do in fact have a Japanese person or an actual scholar who ends up coming across this video, please do correct me, but I do believe that it is from the accounts of this guy, and especially with the Battle of Tenmokuzan that was led by Nobunaga and where Yasuke was part of, that we know that he actually participated in battle. It is not stated verbatim, to my understanding, that he actually fought as a samurai, but like again, it leaves you a little bit of to the imagination that the big dude that was considered to be as strong as 10 men was given the honorary estate and given a weapon to the dismay of other samurais, would not partake in fights. Now, that being said, one thing that we know that he actually participated in combat was the fact that during the assassination of Nobunaga, he actually fought to try to protect his master, and even more so to protect his master's son, where then he was not killed. We do not have records of him being killed. What is mostly known is that he was most likely taken, again, by Akechi, I might have said the name wrong before, there, Mitsuhide, and taken away to a Christian camp because of either the fact that you do not slay somebody for the fault of his master, or because, again, he didn't consider him as a human being, or to the fact that he actually showed a certain level of honor and was not killed because of his display. That is up to interpretation. That being said, we are literally talking in interpretative territory right now. There are cases of individuals that we know even lesser of, like with William Adams. Why was he actually made a Japanese, not Japanese, why was he turned into a samurai? And the depiction that has been made of him in games like Neo. Literal Japanese producers, game developers, made Yasuke as a playable character in Neo 2. Neo 1, he was kind of like an antagonist that they added later on to the game that you could fight against, but he was given an axe that you could fight with. And now some people are going to say, but you cannot be a samurai if you fight with an axe. You definitely can. They did. You cannot be a samurai if you are not raised within the ranks or are not born within the nobility and have not been trained long enough to be that. Can you say that to Toyotomi Hideyoshi, a Japanese peasant that literally made it to the highest position possible? This whole fixation of historical accuracy would be fine if we're not talking about straight up Assassin's Creed. It is baffling to me that they do not see the liberties that were taken for every single time that a character that even was inspired by a true historical figure as main characters were not literally depicted as they were in the games. It's wild that this explosion, this eruption of anger is now coming for a melanated character when it did not occur with previous ones. And I'm not saying this to be mean or anything, because I'm literally trying to have a certain level of leeway here by at least citing some of the historical account that I have and not being like just partial, because yeah, why not explore the story of a black samurai? Because let's go back all the way to Altair, right? We had Baghdad, we had the Assassin's Creed, a thing that actually existed. The Assassin's Order in Masyaf, the temple, is a real thing. But was there a dude called Altair ibn Ahad who was given a weird apple with superpowers that was controlling the will of people? No. Ezio Auditore, the Pope, was striking a staff with... No. Let's go even to the point where we have something a little bit of like similitude here with the recent games. When did the trend start? Assassin's Creed Syndicate. We have Evie Fry and Jacob Fry. The two are actually inspired by true gangsters that existed at the time. I cannot remember the names, I might be putting them up in face there. But from what I remember, the male guy... Okay, hold on, I need to look this up real quick. Let me see. Oh, Jesus. This is odd, having to do research suddenly like this. Alice Diamond and Billy Kimbler. These were the two who partook in that. And the guy who, I guess, has a bit more of a leaning towards his true intention, the leader of a gang, if you want to focus on the fact that perhaps a female character could not have done that, Who do you think was played the most in Assassin's Creed Syndicate? Evie. People chose her instead because either her assassinations were more flamboyant, her moves were more graceful, she was actually a bit more stealth focused, or just because she was a chick and had tits. Whichever you choose, you go with that. Later on, we dive into a new version of Assassin's Creed with the more RPG-oriented things. The story of Bayek. Bayek of Siwa, of course, the story is more focused on him, but the actual supposed historical figure, Amulet, is not the focus here. So you're playing as somebody else and not the person that actually has some records written about them. We go further. Odyssey, we have Cassandra, who supposedly is like playing a similar role to like the Oracle of Delphi, right? Predicting the future, and nobody listens to her. Who was played the most by here? Alexios, a guy who quite literally is not even cited in historical records. Like, there might be a dude who was the grandson of Leonidas, but he was definitely not called Alexios. But Cassandra, who actually has some historical bearings, is not focused on. Who else do we have? Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you get to play as Eivor. Like, do I need to continue with this? Like, you're going to be citing historical accuracy in an AC game. Sure, the NPCs that were in between that you could interact with, the likes of that fat ass, not Plato, oh my god, Pythagoras that you talked with in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. He was actually hilarious sometimes. Leonardo da Vinci and a plethora of others that you could talk with. Those people were there, but you are always playing as a character that has a semblance of like historical accuracy, because they need to focus on somebody that was fitting within the timeline, that might have interacted with some of these characters, an actual reason to drive the story. It just baffles me that suddenly, because a character has more melanated skin, suddenly it becomes a problem. Like, you do understand why people get frustrated when these kind of statements are made, especially when actually people, because you might be arguing the fact that Western authors are always trying to romanticize the version of history that are not theirs. It's made by Japanese people. But when you literally have Japanese people who are acknowledging them and putting them in their works, why are you bitching on their behalf? I don't get it, okay? I literally don't get it. You are literally acting as the woke individuals that I'm targeting right now in this part of the conversation, the anti-woke crowd who always bitch about these kind of things. You are literally acting like them. You are not better by making this kind of arguments. Like, if you actually imply the same logic, you should be blaming the DEI office from 2003's Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, Braveheart with Mel Gibson as William Wallace. All of those things, like, it's just odd to me, okay? That's all I'm going to say. It's very weird that people are acting this way. There is clearly a lot of creative freedom that can be taken here. The thing that you should literally be angry about is the fact that Ubisoft is mistreating the user base, most likely also the developers. We're going to see who is going to be fired next time. But instead, you are mad about something stupid. Like, literally, if you want, there is a female protagonist there who is of Japanese descent. You can play as her. And if your argument is that you want to play as a male who is of Japanese descent, Ghost of Tsushima exists. Yeah. I'm sorry for having turned this into a little bit of a weird, perhaps agitated rant. It just baffles me that this is an actual thing that people are getting mad over, and we can't just be discussing history without being degrading, because that's what the comments are. Like, literally the first thing that I saw yesterday when I saw that, oh, there's a black dude who's going to be in the new Assassin's Creed game, was literally a racist post. Like, I know that it's not everybody who is coming with criticism that acts like this, but there is a certain amount of people out there who are just so bigoted. That's all I'm going to say today. I apologize if this reaction video turned into a bit more of a longer discourse. Obviously, if you are more educated on the matter, I would love to hear your constructive criticism. If you are just going to be raging at me for some reasons for just being anti-woke, please do else elsewhere. I was just trying to share my thoughts to what I suppose may be accurate information, okay? As I said, I was trying to go through the recordings here and add in subtext and where it is that I have some of these thoughts from. I have them noted somewhere, especially the PDF there that I got from the Japanese study. Anyways, that being said, thank you so much for watching the video. Wish you all to have a wonderful day. See you guys in the next one. Bye.